When did your perfect dog become the weapon of your roommate's betrayal? I just had the most insane, soul-crushing conversation in the middle of the food court at the worst mall kiosk in Central Florida, and I'm pretty sure my entire life is actually a poorly written Hulu reality show because I honestly cannot process this level of complete and utter betrayal. And yes, spoiler alert, it involves my perfect, tiny, beautiful dog Barnaby. I don't even know where to start with this, TBH. I'm typing this out from my beat-up 2018 Honda Civic in the Costco parking lot because I literally cannot bring myself to drive home to apartment 3B where all of this absolute insanity originated. My iPhone 14 battery is dying, I have like 47 notifications, and I just stress ate a sleeve of Ritz crackers, which is only making my stomach hurt more. So context. Hi, I'm Mark Howard, 32M. I'm currently finding my footing in the queer community in this aggressively suburban area, which mostly means I spend too much time on TikTok doomscrolling and not enough time actually socializing, but whatever. My actual job, the one that pays the $1,247 rent for the tiny two-bedroom apartment, is running a custom phone accessory and vape juice kiosk right outside the Auntie Anne's in the mall. Don't judge. It pays the bills mostly. It's called Screen Saviors. I spend 9 hours a day telling people they do not need a $40 screen protector for their Samsung Galaxy. The center of my universe, the only thing that makes the smell of cinnamon pretzels and cheap perfume tolerable, is Barnaby. He is a 7-pound Pomeranian poodle mix, and he is everything. He's my emotional support system, my fluffy little shadow, and honestly the best co-pilot in the Civic. We've been a package deal for 3 years. This story isn't about a breakup, though. It's about a roommate situation that went nuclear, fueled by passive aggression, achievement-obsessed parenting, and a whole lot of mansplaining. Enter Teresa Petrov, 35F. Teresa moved in with me about 8 months ago. She works in pharmaceutical sales and drives a BMW she absolutely cannot afford. I should have known it was a red flag when she insisted on explaining the intricacies of my espresso machine to me, a machine I literally own and use daily on day one. She's the kind of person who uses the phrase, "with all due respect," right before saying something extremely disrespectful. Initially, it was great because she paid her half of the rent via Zelle on the first, usually transferring $623.50. She insisted on splitting the difference of the water bill exactly to the cent every month, which was weird but fine. The first few months were tolerable, though she started leaving passive-aggressive notes about my organizational style. Like, "Mark, your concept of shelf space allocation in the pantry is suboptimal. Please recalibrate your storage metrics." I swear the woman talks like a poorly coded AI. The real problem started about 2 months ago when she got a promotion and decided she needed to elevate her lifestyle, which apparently meant hating my dog. Barnaby is quiet, he rarely barks, but he sheds. Pomeranian mix, you know. The fur gets everywhere despite my best efforts with the Costco lint roller and the Dyson vacuum I bought with my tax return. Teresa started complaining slowly at first. Week 1, "Mark, I just finished a 2-hour Peloton ride and I need to review my Q3 strategy, but there is significant canine particulate matter on the IKEA rug. This impacts my productivity." Week 3, "I was on a critical Zoom call for 8 hours today, Mark, and Barnaby sneezed during a crucial moment. I am concerned this reflects poorly on my professional stability. We need to implement stricter sound mitigation protocols." I tried, I really did. I put a gate up. I bought expensive allergy air filters. I even started giving Barnaby omega-3 supplements, hoping it would turn him into a non-shedding, silent, miniature gold bar. It didn't. But then the complaints started escalating, and this is where Andrea Hughes, 60F, gets involved. Andrea lives across the hall in 3A. She is the literal definition of nosy neighbor. She has a Ring doorbell that she monitors like it's a national security feed, and she tracks every single movement in the hallway. I once came home on a Tuesday at 11:47 a.m. and my phone immediately dinged with a text from Andrea. "Mark, nice to see you taking a long lunch break. Remember the rules about common area noise levels during core business hours." The audacity. Teresa and Andrea somehow became fast friends, a terrifying alliance of managerial microaggressors. They would have whispered conversations by the mailboxes. I swear I could feel them judging my $43.67 Trader Joe's grocery bill because I chose the cheaper organic peanut butter. The atmosphere at home was getting toxic. I started working overtime just to avoid being there. I clocked 18 hours of overtime last week unpaid because my boss is a menace, but honestly, it was better than listening to Teresa sigh dramatically every time Barnaby walked past her. Last week, Tuesday, things really ramped up. I was already stressed because my credit card declined for a $347 bill that morning. Turns out I had forgotten to transfer money after a huge Amazon order for new phone cases. I got home exhausted at 8:30 p.m. Teresa was waiting in the kitchen, standing perfectly still like a pharmaceutical sales mannequin. "Mark," she said, her voice dangerously level, "we need to operationalize the pet management protocol." "The what?" I asked, putting my Starbucks cup down, trying to sound calm. My stomach was doing that tight, anxious flip thing. "The pet management protocol," she repeated, giving me the kind of look usually reserved for people who use Comic Sans in a corporate presentation. I was just reviewing the situation with Andrea, 60F. She was noting the significant increase in foot traffic related to the dog walker you hired. Tangent: I had hired a dog walker because I felt guilty leaving Barnaby alone while I was stuck shilling vape pens. It was $20 per walk 3 times a week. That's $60 I really couldn't spare, but Barnaby deserved it. "Andrea is tracking Barnaby's walks now?" I asked. I felt the rage start to bubble. Teresa just brushed me off, literally using her hand to shoo away my emotional response. "Andrea is merely offering data points for optimized living. The point, Mark, is that Barnaby is becoming a liability. She then pulled out a literal printed spreadsheet. And GL, I was impressed by the level of commitment to being awful. As you can see, she tapped a cell with her Apple Watch. The cleaning fee expenditure has increased by 400% this quarter. Furthermore, I had a prospective client over this weekend, and she registered a clear negative reaction to the dog hair on the sofa. I wanted to point out that she hadn't asked if she could have a client over, and that her $85 plumber charge last month when she flushed a disposable contact lens down the sink was a higher cleaning fee expenditure than anything Barnaby had ever caused, but I held my tongue. I was trying to de-escalate. Look, Teresa, I said, trying to be mature. I hear you, I'm trying to keep up with the shedding. We've been together for 2 years and 8 months, Barnaby and I, he's my family. And that, Mark, is the core of the inefficiency, she declared. Your emotional attachment is overriding sound judgment. This living arrangement is no longer tenable under the current pet parameters. I braced myself. I knew what was coming, but hearing it out loud was still a punch to the gut. I need you to rehome the dog, she said, just like that. She said it with her whole chest like she was ordering a flat white at Starbucks. Wait, what are you saying? I felt my vision actually blur slightly. My hands started shaking. I'm saying, she continued, completely oblivious to the fact that I was rapidly approaching a mental breakdown in my own kitchen, that if you wish to maintain the current cost-effective rental agreement, you need to divest yourself of the pet. The emotional tax and actual cleaning costs are no longer fiscally responsible for my Q4 objectives. She literally used Q4 objectives to talk about kicking my dog out. The absolute disrespect. I was shaking, like full body shaking. You're giving me an ultimatum over my dog. I am providing a strategic proposal for resource allocation, she corrected me. I need 60 days notice or he needs to be gone by the end of the month. I couldn't even form words. I just grabbed my jacket and ran out. I got in the Civic, drove straight to the mall, and just sat there until my shift started at 9:30 a.m. staring at the screen protectors. The next day, Wednesday, I called my mom. She lives 4 states away in Westfield. I knew she'd be supportive, but I also knew she'd tell my Aunt Carol, who tells everyone. Then I called Beverly Mitchell 60F. Beverly isn't my mom, but she is the mother of my best friend, Darren. Beverly is notoriously achievement-obsessed. She views life as a series of measurable metrics, and failure is contagious. She's the kind of person who asks how much money your job makes before she asks if you like it. I knew she'd have an opinion, but Beverly has a surprising amount of practical, cold-blooded advice. I was on my lunch break, a sad, lukewarm panera soup I ate at the kiosk when I called her. Mark, honey, I'm just about to clock my 10,000 steps on my Apple Watch, Beverly said, slightly breathless. But go ahead. Is this about the vape business? Are you pivoting to something with better margins? No, Beverly, it's about Barnaby and Teresa. I explained the whole thing, the ultimatum, the spreadsheet, the Q4 objectives. Beverly was silent for a full 10 seconds. I thought the call had dropped, but I could hear her typing something furiously on a keyboard in the background. Teresa Petrov, Beverly announced finally. Pharmaceutical sales, right? Highly competitive. That level of managerial arrogance is typical when someone is overcompensating. She sees you, Mark, as a variable she cannot control, and she views the dog as the weakest link in your system. She wants me to rehome him, I whispered, fighting back tears in the middle of a massive group of teenagers buying bubble tea. No, Mark, she wants you to fail on her terms, Beverly corrected, sharp and precise. Rehoming Barnaby is emotional capitulation. It tells her she wins and that her metrics are the universal law. You cannot do that. I was waiting for her to tell me to get a better paying job so I didn't need a roommate, or that my business concept was flawed, which she usually does. But she didn't. What do I do, Beverly? I can't afford the apartment alone. If I leave, I lose the security deposit and have nowhere to go. If I stay, she makes my life a hellscape and I lose the only thing that keeps me sane. You don't leave and you don't rehome the dog, Beverly stated, her voice hardening. You pivot. You make her untenable, not you. Does she have a flaw, Mark? Something she prizes over everything else? Something she thinks is perfect? Her work, I scoffed. Her job, her status. She has a huge presentation coming up. The reason she's been so intense, it's next week. And what else? I thought hard. Her appearance, honestly. She spends all her money on designer stuff, and her hair. She gets that expensive blowout every Friday. Excellent, Beverly murmured, sounding oddly delighted. You need a strategy. You need a visual narrative that proves you are thriving, not just surviving. She's trying to reduce you to an obstacle. You need to become the immovable object, and you need to look damn good doing it. You need a strategic response, darling, a glow-up. I swear, Beverly Mitchell is the only person who can make glow-up sound like a military maneuver. I don't know, Beverly, I'm running a mall kiosk. I'm wearing the same chipped black polo shirt every day. Exactly. That stops now. You have 4 days until Friday. You need to present an image of undeniable, self-assured success that makes her question her own metrics. Don't worry about the rent right now. Focus on the narrative. Now, Mark, I need to know her presentation schedule. Timing is everything. I promised I'd think about it, hung up, and went back to selling phone chargers, feeling slightly unhinged but also weirdly energized. I spent the next 2 days completely numb at the kiosk. I used my lunch breaks to scroll through Venmo and Cash App, doing the math. If I paid the rent myself, I'd be short about $400 for groceries and utilities. I had $500 in my savings money I was supposed to use for Barnaby's unexpected vet bill from last month. I couldn't afford to be homeless. I couldn't lose Barnaby, but Teresa was already escalating. Thursday morning, I found a printout on the fridge door, a Wikipedia page detailing local animal shelters highlighted in bright yellow. This solidified it. This wasn't about the hair, this was about power. I decided to take Beverly's advice, but I needed an actual plan, and the plan involved going home, which was terrifying. I got home Thursday night at 7:00 p.m. Teresa was on the sofa, aggressively editing a document on her expensive work laptop. Barnaby immediately ran to me, tail wagging. I picked him up and buried my face in his fluffy neck, inhaling that perfectly comforting dog smell. Mark, Teresa said without looking up, her typing slowing slightly. I trust you've made a final determination regarding the pet management protocol. I have, I said, putting Barnaby down and heading into the kitchen. I was deliberately calm. My heart was pounding like a drum solo, but my voice was steady. Barnaby stays. Teresa stopped typing completely. This was the reaction I wanted. She had anticipated capitulation. I see, she said, finally looking up. Her eyes were ice cold. Then I suggest you start researching studio apartments because effective immediately, I am implementing the 60-day notice requirement as per the rental agreement, and I expect the Zelle transfer for my share of the security deposit within 24 hours. Oh, I'm not leaving, Teresa, I replied, grabbing a La Croix from the fridge. Barnaby and I are quite comfortable here. Then you are responsible for the full $1,247 rent on the first of the month, she shot back, a condescending smirk starting to form. And I highly doubt, Mark, that your little kiosk business generates the necessary capital for that type of expenditure, especially considering the exorbitant $20 per walk pet care costs. Don't worry about my finances, Teresa, and you might want to check the fine print on the lease. It's month to month now, which means only 30 days notice is required for me, but the agreement states that if one party voluntarily vacates before the 30-day period, they are still responsible for the entirety of the next month's rent. I saw her mansplainer instinct kick in. Mark, I manage pharmaceutical contracts. I understand tenant law significantly better than you. That clause specifically applies to you, I cut her off. I had spent 3 hours reading the lease, fueled by pure adrenaline and Talenti gelato. And I know you have that massive presentation next week. So here's my counter-proposal. I'm not rehoming Barnaby. I'm not moving out, but you can effective now. And since you're vacating voluntarily for your Q4 objectives, I expect your portion of the December rent to be zelled to me by tomorrow at 5:30 p.m. Her jaw literally dropped. It was the best, most shocking moment of my week. The sheer audacity, she sputtered, her composure completely fractured. I am going to destroy your credit rating, Mark. I know your financial situation. Do you, Teresa? I asked, walking closer, holding the La Croix like a shield. Because I know yours. I know you had to make a $200 withdrawal from your savings account every week for the past month just to make up for your ridiculous expense account shortfalls. I know you're trying to impress your boss with this upcoming presentation, and I know that the lease is signed by both of us. If you want to move out and live in your BMW, go ahead. But if you try to make me move, I'll fight you in housing court, and I guarantee that won't look great on your professional stability report. I was bluffing so hard I thought I was going to hyperventilate, but it worked. She just stared at me, her face blotchy with impotent rage. She didn't say another word that night. She went into her room and slammed the door. I could hear her pacing. I felt a small, triumphant surge of adrenaline, followed immediately by the terrifying realization that I had just signed myself up to pay $1,247 in rent, and I needed to execute Beverly Mitchell's glow-up strategy immediately. Friday morning, I went into work already on edge. I had a text from Teresa waiting on my iPhone when I woke up. We will be discussing this with the landlord, Mark. This is not over. No typo, she's too aggressively polished for typos. I knew I was in for a fight, but I had a plan thanks to Beverly. I called a guy I knew who did graphic design on the site, a community contact I'd met through a local queer hiking group. See, community finding. I need a complete rebrand of Screen Saviors by Sunday morning, I told him. And I need a new, professionally shot headshot. I need to look like I'm about to launch an IPO for a tech startup, not selling cracked screen protectors. I spent $250 on the design work, a massive chunk of my remaining cash, but necessary. I had to project success even if I was eating ramen noodles for the next 2 months. Saturday, I went to Target, spent $80 on new, professional, non-chipped black shirts, and even got a haircut. I felt like a whole new person. And then Sunday rolled around. The new kiosk signage was delivered, sleek, matte black, and minimalist. I even set up a new website. I started wearing my new clothes, and honestly, I looked great. I felt confident, but the biggest part of the plan involved Barnaby. Teresa's massive make-or-break presentation was scheduled for Monday morning off-site, but she had been prepping all day Sunday, locked in her room. I heard her practicing her speech, lots of corporate jargon, leveraging synergies, disrupting legacy frameworks. I decided to execute phase 2 of the glow-up, a pet-based strategic advantage. I needed to turn Barnaby from a liability into a symbol. Sunday night, I drove Barnaby to my friend's house, the one who has zero filter, just 32F, and we spent 3 hours grooming him. He got the full works, a bath-perfect paw trim, and then the piece de resistance, a specialized pet-safe dye job. Barnaby, my fluffy 7-pound Pomapoo, was now a vibrant, eye-catching shade of electric lavender. Monday morning, I woke up at 6:00 a.m. feeling strangely refreshed. Teresa was already up, frantically pacing in her expensive suit, triple-checking her presentation notes. She barely looked at me. I need complete silence this morning, Mark. I cannot be disrupted before this meeting. Understood, I said calmly. I put Barnaby on his custom-made lavender leash. Yes, I went full dedication and walked him right past her. Teresa, who was focused entirely on her iPad, took one step and then froze. She finally looked up. Her eyes tracked Barnaby's new glorious lavender fluff. The transformation was truly shocking. He didn't just look clean, he looked art. What, she breathed, her voice cracking, have you done to your dog? Oh, Barnaby, I said, trying to sound breezy. He's just reflecting his inner confidence. I thought it was time he had a little upgrade too. It's part of the new brand identity. I then dropped the bomb. Actually, I am launching a new side hustle, Barnaby's Boutique Grooming, Luxury Pet Services. A friend of mine who works in PR is helping me set up an Instagram. We've already got 500 followers. We're pivoting the kiosk to be a drop-off point for consultations. I was lying. I had 12 followers, all friends, and the friend in PR was Jess, who just changed the Wi-Fi password to FUTHRSA, but whatever, it sounded impressive. Teresa stared at the dog, then at me. Her achievement-obsessed brain was clearly short-circuiting. She couldn't classify this. It wasn't messy, it was profitable, or so I claimed. It wasn't a liability, it was a business opportunity. This is ridiculous, she managed, shaking her head. Is it? I smiled, grabbing my keys. I think it's smart. We're maximizing our aesthetic appeal. And hey, I'm thinking about making him my official brand mascot. He's very popular with the locals. I left the apartment, walking Barnaby out to the Civic, which was parked right next to her shining but slightly dusty BMW. And this is where the pet drama meets the nosy neighbor. As I was clipping Barnaby into his lavender-dyed seat harness, Andrea Hughes, 60F, appeared. She was watering a tiny potted plant right outside her door in 3A, but really she was just waiting for drama. Mark Howard, Andrea chirped, spotting the lavender dog. Well, I never, that is certainly bold. Is that part of a trend? I beamed at her. This was my moment to solidify the narrative. Andrea, actually, I'm launching a high-end pet grooming service, I said, putting on my best entrepreneur voice. Barnaby is our new model. We're pioneering bespoke color concepts for the discerning clientele. It's highly exclusive. We're charging $300 for this exact service. Andrea's eyes widened. She had to classify this information. High-end, exclusive, $300. Her achievement-obsessed mindset kicked in just like Beverly predicted. The thing she hated, the dog, had transformed into a source of status. Oh, Mark, Andrea cooed, suddenly leaning in conspiratorially. That is so wonderful. I must tell you, I just heard Teresa Petrov, 35F, leaving. She looked absolutely frantic. I hope her presentation goes well. She seemed very stressed about her metrics. I'm sure she'll do fine, I said easily. But I did just let her know I won't be paying her the security deposit as she is voluntarily breaching the 30-day notice requirement. I'll see her half of the December rent on the 1st. Andrea gasped, delighted. The drama was pure gold. I had suddenly gone from the disorganized renter to the savvy businessman who outmaneuvered the controlling corporate woman across the hall. The narrative had shifted. I drove to the mall feeling unstoppable. The kiosk looked amazing, the new branding was sleek, and I felt like a CEO. Barnaby, glowing lavender, was getting attention everywhere. I got 3 genuine inquiries about his grooming services before noon. I had effectively turned my supposed liability into a legitimate marketable asset just as Beverly had instructed. Teresa couldn't fight it because it undermined her entire worldview that I was inefficient and easily dismissed. The day flew by. I made more sales than usual because the new branding was working. I felt great. Then around 4:00 p.m. I got a flurry of frantic text messages. Not from Teresa, but from Andrea Hughes. Andrea, 4:03 p.m. Mark, you need to call me immediately. I just saw something on my Ring camera. Andrea, 4:04 p.m. It's Teresa, she's back. She came back early. Andrea, 4:05 p.m. Mark, she's packing. She has huge bins. I think she's moving out right now. I felt a dizzy rush of triumph. I had one. She couldn't handle the rent, the confrontation, or the lavender dog. She was folding right before her massive presentation. I texted Andrea back. Great. Did she transfer the security deposit money to me yet? Andrea, 4:10 p.m. No, Mark, that's not the point. She looks unhinged. She's throwing things, and I saw her take something big. Andrea, 4:11 p.m. Mark, I think she's stealing the couch. The new sofa from IKEA that you guys split the payment on. It looks like she's hired movers. I looked at my watch. It was too late to confront her physically. I was still at the kiosk and the mall closed soon. I immediately called Teresa. It went straight to voicemail. I tried Zelle just to see. I tried to request her half of the rent. User not found. She had blocked me. Panic set in. My triumph dissolved. If she was moving out, I didn't care about the sofa, but I desperately needed her share of the December rent if I was going to pay the entire $1,247 bill myself. I called Andrea. Andrea, you need to tell me everything you see right now. Andrea's voice was breathless, almost giddy. She was narrating a live-action event. Oh, Mark, this is dramatic. The movers are here. They have the huge velvet green sofa. She's yelling at them. And wait. Mark, she's pulling something else out, something big and black and wrapped in plastic. It looks like a dog crate. Wait, Barnaby's crate is here with me, I said, confused. He doesn't have another crate. No, Mark, not a crate, it's a carrier, a huge hard-sided airline-approved carrier. And Mark, she's carrying something in her arms, something small and furry. Oh my god, she's being incredibly gentle with it. My mind raced. Small, furry, gentle. Teresa hated Barnaby. She couldn't stand animals. Andrea, focus. What is it? Is it a cat? No, Mark, it's a dog, but not Barnaby. This one is smaller and it's white, and I swear, Mark, it looks exactly like a miniature version of Barnaby but younger. Andrea paused, then her voice dropped to a shocked whisper. Mark, she's putting the dog in the carrier, she's kissing its head, and she just said clear as day, don't worry, little pipsqueak. We're going to mommy's new condo where there's no shedding risk. I dropped my phone on the counter. The phone case I was holding clattered to the floor. Pipsqueak. My roommate Teresa, the corporate menace who gave me an ultimatum to rehome my beloved dog because she couldn't tolerate canine particulate matter, had a second dog. A secret dog. One she was apparently keeping hidden until she moved into her new condo. All the pieces clicked into place. The $200 weekly withdrawals I saw on her statement, her insistence on locking her bedroom door, the sudden urgency to get rid of Barnaby. It wasn't about the dog hair, it was about eliminating the competition before she could introduce her own achievement-obsessed tiny pet into the household. The audacity was truly staggering, but that wasn't the worst of it. Andrea was still talking, but I barely heard her. I picked up my phone, my hands shaking so hard I could barely unlock the screen. Andrea, did she take anything else? Yes, just now she took a cage, a massive wire cage, Mark. It's like a rodent cage. She's loading it into the trunk of her BMW right now. A cage? What kind of cage? The kind for a rodent, Mark. A huge cage for a guinea pig or a hamster. She has 2 movers loading it. I felt that sudden cold dread that only happens when you realize everything you knew about someone was a complete lie. Teresa Petrov, the woman who spoke in corporate jargon and demanded clean sightlines, was a secret pet hoarder. Andrea, I said, my voice barely a strained whisper. Can you see the name tag on the large pet carrier she put the dog in, the white one? Andrea strained, zooming her Ring camera feed. Wait, yes, hold on, it's custom embroidered, T. Petrov. And under the name, oh my god, Mark. What is it, Andrea? It says Pipsqueak Best in Breed 2023 Regional Championship. Mark, that woman has been hiding an award-winning show dog and possibly a pet rat, all while trying to tell you that your dog was too much trouble. I hung up. I was done, just absolutely done. The betrayal, the manipulation, the sheer unadulterated hypocrisy. I looked at Barnaby, sleeping peacefully in his lavender fluff in my lap. I had 2 days until the first, and now I had no roommate, no security deposit refund, and a whole apartment full of furniture I couldn't afford to keep alone. I grabbed my keys, walked straight out of the mall, and got in the Civic. I didn't even clock out, I just left. I drove straight toward our apartment building, ready for the confrontation of my life. I was pulling into the parking lot when my phone dinged with a notification. It wasn't a text, it was a Zelle request. From Teresa Petrov 35F. It wasn't a transfer to me, it was a request from her. The amount requested was for exactly $85, and the memo read, cleaning fee for excessive canine particulate matter removal, effective immediately upon notice of termination of our agreement. The audacity. She was charging me $85 to clean the dog hair she now claimed was excessive, even though she was currently moving out and was a secret pet owner. I saw her BMW pulling away, a U-Haul trailer attached to the back, speeding out of the complex. She was gone. I parked the Civic and ran up to apartment 3B. The door was unlocked. The apartment was mostly empty. The living room was barren save for my sad chipped end table. The green velvet sofa was gone. Her room was stripped bare. I walked into the kitchen. On the counter, right where she had left the passive-aggressive spreadsheet, was a note. Mark, per our agreement, I have vacated the premises. I will be sending you a formal invoice for damages later this week. I expect prompt payment. Also, I have taken your Netflix, Hulu, and Disney Plus login information as compensation for the loss of my time dealing with your unoptimized living standards. Find new streaming accounts. I was so angry I saw red. I didn't care about the streaming accounts. I didn't care about the cheap IKEA sofa. I cared about the rent and the hypocrisy and the fact that she had been living a double life while systematically trying to dismantle mine. But then I saw it, next to the note, something tiny and black. Barnaby, still lavender, sniffed at it curiously. It was a small, black external hard drive. It had a little white sticker on it that read, THERESAP Q4 Presentation Master. She was so focused on escaping and executing her pettiness that she had left the one thing she prized above all else, her work achievement. The hard drive for the massive, career-defining presentation that was scheduled for tomorrow morning. I picked it up. It was heavy. It was full of her professional stability. My stomach dropped not from anxiety but from the realization of the power I now held. I had the $1,247 rent due, an $85 Venmo request for dog hair fees, and an award-winning pet competitor I never knew existed. And now I had the power to totally destroy her career, which was the only thing that mattered to her. I looked at the hard drive, then at Barnaby, then back at the empty, debt-ridden apartment. I suddenly had a truly evil idea. A corporate, cutthroat idea that Beverly Mitchell would be proud of. I just needed to know if I could pull it off by the next morning. I stood there in the empty apartment, Barnaby looking up at me, waiting. The sun was setting, casting long, dark shadows. The $85 Zelle request was still pending on my screen. What do I do? What do I do? I felt the energy humming in my hands, holding this tiny piece of plastic that could ruin her entire life. I know I shouldn't, but I really, really want to. And then I heard a knock on the door. Not Andrea's tentative tap, a sharp, heavy rap. Mark Howard, I know you're in there. I need to speak to you about the unpaid utilities bill. Oh my god, it was my landlord and he looked furious, and I still had her hard drive in my hand. What the actual fuck is going to happen now? I'm trapped. Oh my god, oh my actual god, the landlord. He's standing right there, like a jump scare in a horror movie, except the villain isn't a ghost. It's a 65-year-old man in sensible shoes holding a clipboard, and he wants $1,247 plus whatever utilities Teresa conveniently forgot to pay on her way out the door. I am standing in the middle of my empty, smelling slightly of desperation and cinnamon pretzel living room. I'm holding a corporate hard drive that could incinerate my ex-roommate's career, and my landlord, Mr. Henderson, is banging on the door like he's about to repossess my spirit. Barnaby, bless his lavender heart, started doing his excited little stranger danger but maybe a treat tippy-taps by the door. I shoved Teresa's hard drive down the back of my sweatpants. Not subtle, but effective. I took a deep breath. Just a second, Mr. Henderson. I yelled, trying to sound like a calm, solvent adult, not a 32-year-old man about to face financial ruin. I opened the door, forcing a smile that felt like it was cracking my face. Mark, Mr. Henderson said, bypassing the usual pleasantries. He was holding a crumpled paper. The utility company called me. The gas bill is 3 months overdue, $187, and I've been meaning to talk to you about the common area noise levels, Mark. I had a complaint from 3A this morning. I literally wanted to scream. Andrea 60F already turned on me. No, wait, she wouldn't. She was Team Barnaby Lavender Glow Up Entrepreneur. Mr. Henderson, if it's about noise, I apologize. My former roommate Teresa Petrov just vacated. Actually, she vacated without proper notice, and she also blocked me on Zelle for her rent portion. I'm handling things, but it's been chaotic. Mr. Henderson's face went from slightly annoyed to full-on bureaucratic fury. Vacated? She signed the lease renewal 8 months ago. You're telling me you are now the sole tenant responsible for the full amount on the first? Yes, sir, and I will pay it, I said, leaning hard into the CEO of Screensaver's persona. I just need a moment to reallocate funds. Regarding the utilities, I suspect Teresa may have conveniently failed to pay those for the last few months. I saw him glance over my shoulder into the barren living room. I needed a distraction. I brought Barnaby forward, holding him like a glorious purple trophy. "This is Barnaby," I announced overly cheerfully. "He's the face of my new luxury pet grooming brand. We're doing extremely well. In fact, I've had to pivot my budget to account for unexpected business expansion." I watched Mr. Henderson's eyes narrow, taking in the electric lavender dog. He didn't look impressed. He looked highly suspicious. "Mark, I don't care if you're bathing that thing in liquid gold. I need $1,434 by the first of the month or you and that dog are gone. And tell your nosy neighbor to stop tracking my movements. I know she's been looking at my Ring doorbell feed. I saw her texting you just now." NGL, the sheer number of people in this complex spying on each other is a level of high-tech surveillance I never signed up for. He slammed the overdue bill into my hand and walked away, grumbling about unprofessional pet colors. The door closed and I slid down onto the floor, pulling the hard drive out of my pants. I had 4 days until the first $500 in savings, $250 of which I just spent on the rebranding, and a bill for $1,434. I was screwed, completely, utterly screwed. I pulled out my phone. The Zelle request for $85 cleaning fee from Teresa was still glaring at me. I looked at the hard drive. It was so easy. Just one click of the delete button and she loses her presentation, her promotion, and probably her high-paying job. She had just stolen my streaming accounts and possibly my half of the IKEA sofa. She deserved it. She really did. But Beverly Mitchell's voice echoed in my head, "You need a strategic response." Destroying the hard drive was emotional, not strategic. It would put me on her level, and if she's willing to hide an award-winning show dog named Pipsqueak in a giant rodent cage, she's capable of literally anything. She would probably frame me for tax fraud. I took a picture of the hard drive with the Zelle request open on my screen, texted it to Beverly, and typed, "Option 1, delete. Option 2, ransom. Option 3, I need $1,434 by Friday." Beverly called me back instantly. "Mark Howard, do not delete that hard drive. That is amateur hour," she commanded, her voice sounding like a general addressing troops. "That hard drive is your leverage. It's your Q4 objective, darling." She blocked me, Beverly. She took the sofa and requested $85 for dog hair. I was pacing the empty living room. It doesn't matter. Teresa is predictable. She prizes professional status above all else. She has a presentation tomorrow morning. She's going to realize that hard drive is missing exactly when she needs to load the file onto the conference center laptop, Beverly said, calm as a cucumber. "You have about 12 hours until she enters panic mode. But I need the money now." We pivot. We don't wait for her to realize she's failed. We inform her of the operational status of her presentation, Beverly said, making everything sound like high finance. "Mark, you need to initiate contact, but not just with her. You need to leverage your new brand. The lavender dog, exactly the new aesthetic. You are not a panicked renter. You are a successful entrepreneur who happened to acquire a highly sensitive corporate asset." I took another deep breath. Okay, time to be the savvy businessman. I didn't call her. I didn't text her directly. She blocked me, remember? I went onto LinkedIn. Yes, LinkedIn, I found Teresa Petrov's profile. It was exactly what you'd expect. Dynamic sales leader, disrupting healthcare paradigms. I scrolled down until I found her boss, the senior regional VP of sales, a woman named Carol who looked terrifyingly expensive in her profile picture. I clicked connect with Carol. Then I opened a new private message to Teresa Petrov on LinkedIn. "No chance to block me here, T," I typed. Subject: regarding the misplaced T. Petrov Q4 presentation, Master Teresa, I trust your move went smoothly. I noticed you left behind an external hard drive containing your presentation materials. As a courtesy, I attempted to Zelle you to confirm the best delivery protocol, but found I was blocked. I understand this presentation is critical to your professional advancement. However, since you have unilaterally ended our rental agreement, taken joint property, the sofa, and initiated a fraudulent cleaning fee of $85 via Zelle, I have been forced to reevaluate our professional relationship. As a small business owner, I value clear transactions. I am prepared to return your hard drive, which is currently securely stored, contingent upon 2 conditions. 1, immediate transfer of $1,247 for the December rent and $187 for the outstanding utilities. 2, the immediate cancellation of the fraudulent $85 Zelle request. I require confirmation of the $1,434 transfer by 7:00 a.m. tomorrow morning. If these conditions are not met, I will be forced to implement my own Q4 objectives regarding resource management. I'm also documenting all communications for potential litigation related to the lease. I hope your presentation goes well. Mark H. I hit send. My hands were actually shaking. It felt like I had just launched a drone strike. I immediately texted Beverly, mission initiated, LinkedIn leveraged. Beverly's response, excellent. Now go take a picture of Barnaby with the new kiosk branding, post it everywhere. Look busy, look successful. Do not respond to any immediate emotional responses from T. I tried to follow the plan. I changed into my new, crisp black polo, drove to the mall, took a picture of Barnaby, who looked amazing next to the sleek new screensaver sign, and posted it to Instagram with the caption, pivoting strategies and maximizing aesthetic appeal with the new Barnaby's boutique grooming brand concept. Q4 goals achieved. I got back to the apartment around 9:00 p.m. I stress ate the rest of the Ritz crackers. A week went by where I was basically running on 3 hours of sleep and pure anxiety. Update Tuesday morning 6:45 a.m. My phone started buzzing like a swarm of very angry bees. I grabbed it. It was a rapid-fire string of texts from an unknown number. I knew immediately it was Teresa. She must have realized the hard drive was missing, checked LinkedIn, and unblocked me just to rage. Teresa 6:46 a.m. Mark, I am in a hotel conference center. You are insane. This is the most unprofessional ACT I have ever witnessed. Teresa 6:46 a.m. You have no right to extort me. This is illegal. I am contacting MY attorney. Teresa 6:47 a.m. MY presentation is in 45 minutes. You are deliberately sabotaging MY career. Teresa 6:47 a.m. Where is the hard drive? If I miss this opportunity, you will be hearing from MY legal team. Teresa 6:48 a.m. I will pay you the rent. Send me your routing number. Teresa 6:49 a.m. No wait. IZLLEDU $1,434. I expect the hard drive DLIVRED immediately. I literally jumped out of bed, grabbing my phone and checking my Zelle app. Sure enough. Notification, Teresa Petrov sent you $1,434 memo. Transfer under duress. Expect legal action. I didn't care about the memo. I cared about the number, $1,434. Rent, utilities solved. I was safe for the month. I felt a massive wave of relief wash over me, quickly followed by the adrenaline spike of sheer panic. I still had the hard drive. I had to deliver it and fast. I quickly texted Beverly, success. Zelle received, now what? Beverly's response within 2 seconds. Tell her you will meet her at the conference center entrance in 15 minutes. And Mark, wear the new polo. Look like you just finished a power breakfast. I threw on the black polo, brushed Barnaby's lavender fluff, and drove the Civic like a man possessed toward the fancy downtown convention center. I pulled up right outside the main glass doors. Teresa was standing there, practically vibrating with rage, still in her expensive suit. She looked like she hadn't slept in 3 days. I got out of the car, Barnaby looking like $1,000,000 securely in my arms. Mark, give me the drive, she hissed, holding out a manicured hand. I walked toward her, projecting calm. Good morning, Teresa. I see we have achieved optimal resource allocation. Save the corporate jargon, Mark. You're running a vape kiosk. Give me the drive, she spat, her eyes darting nervously toward the lobby. I handed her the hard drive. She snatched at her fingers, gripping the plastic tightly. Now about the rest of this, she started, her voice dropping. We are going to forget this ever happened, but you owe me a lot of money for that sofa and the inconvenience. The sofa was joint property, I countered smoothly, and I believe your $1,434 payment resolves all immediate debts. Furthermore, I paused, making sure I had her full attention. I wanted to confirm something, Teresa. Are you enjoying your new condo? She froze. She went completely still. What are you talking about? She tried to bluff. I just wanted to make sure Pipsqueak has settled in well, I said, giving her a gentle, knowing smile. He's a beautiful dog, best in breed 2023 regional championship, very low canine particulate matter. I saw the trophy on his carrier. Her face went white, then mottled red, the mask of composure completely shattered. And how is your other pet, the rodent? Is the giant cage large enough for whatever you're hiding? She couldn't speak. She just stood there holding the hard drive completely exposed. You gave me an ultimatum to rehome Barnaby, Teresa, because you said I was unprofessional and my dog caused excessive particulate matter. I continued, still holding Barnaby, who gave a small, confident lavender lick to my chin. All while you were secretly harboring an award-winning show dog in a massive cage, probably full of rats. He is not a rat, he is a prized chinchilla named Bartholomew, she whispered fiercely, looking around to make sure no one heard. And Pipsqueak is my service animal. You have no proof of any of this. Andrea Hughes has a Ring camera, I pointed out easily. And she's on Barnaby's new Instagram page, by the way, as are quite a few of your neighbors. They are all very impressed with the branding. That was the final blow. The thought of the nosy neighborhood surveillance network having documented her secret life and seeing my success was too much. She just stared at me, the rage draining out, leaving pure impotent defeat. You're disgusting, she finally said. I am an entrepreneur, I corrected her. Now I need to get back to my lucrative kiosk. Good luck with Q4. I got back into the Civic and drove away, leaving Teresa Petrov standing by the conference center doors, clutching the presentation she had just paid $1,434 to retrieve, while her entire secret life and my new success narrative were swirling around her in the suburban heat. I called Beverly immediately. I did it. I got the money. I confronted her about Pipsqueak and Bartholomew the chinchilla. Beverly let out a sound that was pure, unadulterated parental pride. Bartholomew the chinchilla, Mark, you are a genius. Now go change the locks and change every single streaming password she stole. Fast forward to Friday. The rent is paid. The utilities are current. The locks are changed. I changed the Netflix, Hulu, and Disney Plus passwords and renamed the profiles Barnaby's Boutique just to be extra petty, which felt amazing. But the apartment felt huge and very, very empty. I realized I didn't just spend the last few weeks fighting Teresa. I had been fighting the financial reality of this apartment. $1,247 is a lot for a mall kiosk owner, even one with a lavender mascot. I knew I needed a pivot beyond the kiosk branding. The glow-up needed to be permanent, not just a threat. So 2 days later, I was back on Zillow looking at smaller, significantly cheaper places. Maybe a studio, maybe a one-bedroom outside of this aggressively corporate neighborhood. I was dreading the move. I was dreading giving Mr. Henderson 30 days notice. I was dreading telling Beverly I was still financially struggling. And then Andrea Hughes, 60F, called me. Mark, honey, I need to talk to you, Andrea said, her voice sounding less like a surveillance monitor and more like a human being. Hi, Andrea, look, I know I shouldn't have used you for corporate blackmail, but I was desperate. Blackmail? Oh, Mark, that was inspired. Teresa deserved every second of it. No, I'm calling because I have been doing some thinking ever since you launched that beautiful lavender business. Okay, I said, bracing myself for her to tell me that Barnaby's color was violating HOA rules. Mark, I am 60, I hate this 2-bedroom apartment. I've lived here for 30 years, it's too much maintenance. I'm thinking of downsizing maybe to a small condo where I can finally put in a garden. I've been looking at places for a year, Andrea confessed. I'm just afraid to move. But watching you stand up to that terrible woman and seeing your little Barnaby thrive, it gave me an idea. I had no idea where this was going. An idea about what? I'm considering selling my condo, 3A. It's a 2-bedroom, corner unit, significantly more square footage than yours, she said, lowering her voice. But I'm worried about the transition. I need help purging decades of stuff, and I was thinking maybe you could take it over. My jaw dropped. Andrea wanted me to take over her condo. Andrea, I literally just paid rent for 3B and I barely made it, I said honestly. I can't afford a condo, even yours. Oh, not buying it, Mark, leasing it. I know the landlord. I'm Mr. Henderson's second cousin, actually, and I know you're good for the money, she explained. But I need someone I trust to take care of the place while I decide what to do with my life, and I need someone to help me pack. You want me to move into your apartment 3A and pay less rent than I'm paying now in exchange for helping you move? Exactly, Andrea said cheerfully. I'll let you lease it for $900 a month, all utilities included, if you agree to help me pack and move my boxes once I finalize the sale. It has a beautiful screened-in patio, Mark, perfect for a Barnaby's boutique grooming consultation zone. I sat down hard on my chipped end table. The strategic glow-up had somehow, accidentally, secured me significantly cheaper, larger, and better housing, with a built-in ally, all because I dyed my dog lavender and stood up to a corporate bully. I spent the next 3 days purging 3B of all Teresa's lingering, passive-aggressive energy. I found a few more items, a printout of the official price list for Pipsqueak's show Ring Grooming NGL, it was impressive, and a $7 charge on her account for an international phone call to Chinchilla Breeders Association. I decided to take the high road, sort of. I packaged up the documents, added a bag of specialty chinchilla pellets I found in her pantry, and mailed it to her new condo address, which I got from Mr. Henderson. Yes, I leveraged that familial connection immediately. I also sent her one final Zelle request, not for the $85 she tried to steal, but for $1. Memo, for the professional courtesy of delivering your critical career assets. She didn't pay it, she didn't respond, she left me on read. Which honestly was a victory in itself. Fast forward to this morning. It's exactly 2 months since the initial ultimatum. I am sitting in 3A, it's beautiful, it has crown molding. I have the screened-in patio and Barnaby has an entire corner dedicated to his lavender spa area. Andrea is now my enthusiastic, slightly still nosy, but incredibly supportive landlady neighbor. She brings me coffee and gives me updates on Teresa's corporate performance. Apparently T's presentation went fine, but she's still battling internal rumors about the chinchilla. I'm eating actual groceries, not ramen, and my rent is manageable. I even got a phone call from Beverly Mitchell 60F. Mark, darling, she said, full of pride. I heard you secured 3A at a 28% reduction in living costs plus utilities. That is a measurable victory. You didn't just survive, you optimized your metrics. That is success. Thanks, Beverly, I said, genuinely grateful. I never would have pulled off the glow-up without your advice. Remember this, Mark, she said, her voice dropping a little. The pet drama was never about the pet, it was about defining your worth. She was trying to box you into failure. Never let anyone define your value based on their arbitrary metrics. I realized she was right. I wasn't just fighting for Barnaby. I was fighting for my right to be a 32M who runs a mall kiosk, is finding his queer community, and who wants a fluffy lavender dog without someone trying to tell me I'm suboptimal. I even did something I never would have done before. I decided to actually invest in Barnaby's boutique grooming. I hired a part-time employee to run the kiosk, allowing me to focus on the luxury grooming business. I'm starting small, mostly just friends and neighborhood dogs. I'm typing this from my new spacious living room. Barnaby is asleep next to me, his lavender coat shining in the afternoon sun. I still have bad days. I still stress about the lingering debt and the fact that Teresa got away with taking the sofa, but whatever. I'm safe. I haven't talked to Teresa, but I did see her post a carefully curated photo on Instagram yesterday. It was Pipsqueak, the secret show dog, sitting next to a trophy, perfectly posed. The caption read, "Celebrating excellence and optimal results." But I looked closely. In the background, barely visible, was the corner of a massive black wire cage. Bartholomew the chinchilla is still lurking in the corporate shadows. I didn't comment. I didn't send a petty text. I just opened my own Instagram, posted a picture of Barnaby, who is currently modeling a tiny hand-knitted designer sweater my friend Jess made, and captioned it, "Boutique brand thriving. Q4 objectives achieved. Don't let your competition redefine your aesthetic. #Barnaby's boutique." It felt real. It felt like the messy, imperfect, lavender-tinted victory I deserved. Anyway, that's the update. I am alive, I am solvent. And I now have an unexpected new career path thanks to a mansplainer, an achievement-obsessed mother, and a deeply nosy but ultimately kind neighbor. It turns out that sometimes the only way to beat corporate chaos is with a strategic, brightly colored glow-up. We'll update if Bartholomew the chinchilla achieves any regional championship status. Stay tuned.